Hello, everyone. Today, I would like to go over group by and halving. Now, these two topics are some topics that, in my experience, I've had more people ask me about these than maybe any other topic in SQL and in this class. So I'm going to try to go through it nice and slow. I'm going to try to explain how they work every step of the way, and hopefully, by the end of it, you'll come out knowing a little bit better how these work. Now, I'm assuming, or I would encourage you, if you haven't, to go ahead and watch the built-in functions video that I made, which goes over an aggregate function. And that video and this video share an example. But in this video, I will be going a lot more in depth of the same example. So I recommend you go ahead and watch that one first, and you can come back to this one. Or you can watch this one first, and you'll understand better how that built-in function works. Either way, I suggest you watch that other video. So just to start, I'm going to re-go over the order of the SQL statement a little bit. I also highly recommend you watch the video about the order of the SQL statement that goes over this in more depth. In that video, we skipped over group by and halving. So in this video, I'm going to focus exclusively on that, but I think it's just important that you understand how this works. So moving on, this is the fake data that we're going to be using. It's the same fake data that I've been using for some other videos, and it's based on the simplified sales table, and it's just for educational purposes. So let's give a problem that can really only be solved by using a group by function, a group by clause, I should say. So what is the average price of each product in the database? Well, this means I want to know the average price for shoes, the average prices for shirts, and so on. Not the average price of everything altogether, but for each individual kind of product type, category, product name, whatever you want to call it. So this is how the SQL statement looks. Right out of the gate, this is how you would write it. You would select the product name, the average price as average price from fake data, and because you selected the product name along with the average price, you then have to group it by product name so it knows how to calculate the proper averages. Now, when I say it like that, it might be a little bit confusing, so let's break it down and kind of go through it step by step. So when you do group by, the first thing it does is it categorizes all of the rows into distinct individual groups. Now, because I told it to group by product name, you can look here and see I've kind of colored it in how the groups would be formed. In this case, the red group is the shoes, the green group is the shirt, and so on. And then this slide, I just kind of categorize it and lump them all together so you can see it a little better. So now we divided them out into groups. So a group can kind of be thought of like a big row. It's a lot more complicated than that, but just for this sake and for the purposes of this video and the purposes of understanding how to use it, you can kind of think of it like one big row that you can then run functions on. So after we make the groups, we can then select what we want, and we select only the product name and the price. And now you can see the groups look a little bit more manageable. So we have the blue group, which is cape, $10, pants is the yellow group, and so on, and then shoes is the red group. And you can see that they all have one row in each group except for the shoes group, which has 3 rows. And now, because you've made the groups and you've selected the proper columns, you can then go ahead and run that aggregate function. So now you can see through here, it runs that average price on each of the groups, not on the whole column, not on anything else or on each individual row, but on the entire group as a whole. And it works because other than price, the groups all share the same data. So you can see other than price, everything in the red group, the product name is shoes. And then it just runs through and runs the function. So you can see the shoes group has an average price of $16.67, the shirt group of $1, and so on. Now, I recommend you go ahead and practice this, read up a little bit more on in the textbook, and if you're still not understanding, I highly recommend you go ahead and contact your teacher or the TAs, and they will be more than happy to help you and walk you through it a little bit more. So that kind of goes over group by, but now I want to talk about halving. So halving is kind of a where clause, but it's for groups instead of rows. So for instance, if I wanted to say, well, I want the average price for each product, but only when that average price is greater than $10, then you would do the group by, and instead of putting that clause in the where, you would put it in the halving. So you wouldn't say select product name and average price from fake data where average price is greater than 10. You would instead group by the product name first to create the groups and then run the having average price greater than 10 after the group by. It functions very, very similarly to the where clause, but where the where clause acts on rows, the having clause acts on entire groups. And doing that, it basically just goes ahead and checks which ones are greater than 10 and returns those instead. So I'm going to run through the group by one more time just so we can kind of refresh and streamline it and hopefully help you understand it a little bit better. So we have our SQL statement where we find the product name and average price grouped by the product name. We go ahead and find the groups. All the groups are where the product name is the same because that's what we're grouping by. So that gives us the red group, which is shoes, the green group, which is shirt, and so on. And then we can select out and go ahead and eliminate the columns that we don't want. And then we can run the function on each individual group. And then we get the final data. Now, if, for instance, I had kept something like manufacturer, I would have to make sure that the manufacturer was included in the group by function and in the select clause. Because when a group is formed, everything has to be the same except for the thing that you're averaging. So if I were to say shoes, and then there were two different manufacturers like there are here, one shoe is made by Adidas and two shoes are made by Nike, that would create two different groups. It would be a shoes Adidas group and a shoes Nike group. But because I just want shoes in general, I can ignore manufacturer, and that leaves us with just the one shoes group. And then we can go ahead, run the function to find the average price. And then if we want to throw a having clause in there, eliminate the rows that don't meet the criteria that we set, and that's how we do it. Again, this is a very complicated topic, and I hope that this helps you understand it a little bit better. If you are still having trouble, please, you can watch this video again, you can read it in the textbook, you can practice, and of course, please get in contact with teachers and TAs. They're there to help you, and we want you to succeed. I hope this helped. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.